You know what's funny. People spend thousands of hours trying to look important, sound smart, and prove their worth. They curate their social media, rehearse conversations in the shower, buy expensive clothes, and somehow they still walk into a room and get completely ignored. Not because they're invisible, but because they've trained everyone around them not to take them seriously. Here's the part nobody tells you. You're not taken seriously because you've never given anyone a reason to be. And that's not an insult. It's a diagnosis. Most people think being taken seriously is about competence or credentials or how many letters come after your name. Ite? Not. It's about something far more primal. It's about whether you've demonstrated that your words and actions have actual consequences, that you mean what you say, that you're willing to stand by something even when it costs you. The first reason nobody takes you seriously is that you've become too agreeable. You're the person who says yes to everything, who softens every opinion with "I mean." But you might think differently, who laughs at jokes that aren't funny just to keep the peace. You've optimized yourself for likability instead of respect. These are not the same thing. Likability is what people feel when you're useful to them. Respect is what they feel when they know you have standards they can't violate. Think about the people you actually take seriously. Not admire, actually take seriously. They say things that are true, not things that are comfortable. When they commit to something, they do it. When they disagree with you, they don't apologize for having a different opinion. They don't perform agreement. And because of that, when they speak, people listen, because they've signaled that their words mean something. You, on the other hand, have been sending the opposite signal your entire life. You've trained people to believe that your words are negotiable, that your commitments are flexible, that you're always available for revision if someone challenges you. So why would they take you seriously? You've already told them you don't take yourself seriously. Here's where most people get uncomfortable. This isn't about being rude or aggressive. Some of the most disagreeable people in the world are also some of the most taken seriously, but they have clarity. They know what they believe. They've drawn lines, and everyone around them has internalized those lines. You can't negotiate with someone who knows what they actually want. The second reason is that you never follow through on consequences. You say things like, "I don't appreciate when people do that," and then you smile the next time they do it. You claim to have boundaries, and then you bend them the moment someone pushes. You talk about standards, and then you accept anything. What you're doing is teaching people that your words are empty, that you're all signaled, no substance. This is a pattern people notice immediately. Not consciously, but they notice. The brain is incredibly good at detecting who actually means what they say and who is just performing meaning. It's a survival mechanism. Throughout human history, the people you could take seriously were the ones who would actually do what they said they'd do. Because if they said they'd do something and then didn't, there were real consequences. Your reputation mattered. Your word mattered. Now you exist in a world where consequences are optional. You can say you're going to the gym and not go. You can say you're busy and just not want to hang out. You can say you value your health and eat like garbage. And usually, nothing happens. You don't lose your house. You don't get exiled from the tribe. So you've become sloppy with your words, and people have learned to discount them accordingly. The third reason is that you're always performing for the room instead of trusting your own judgment. You say things based on who's listening. You tone down your actual perspective if you think someone might disagree. You read the room like it's a test you might fail. And what that communicates is that you don't trust your own thinking. If you don't trust your own thinking, why should anyone else? People who are taken seriously have something that looks like arrogance, but isn't. It's the confidence that comes from having thought something through and decided it's true. Not because everyone agrees, not because it's popular, but because they've done the work, they've examined it, and they're willing to be wrong. But they're not willing to be uncertain about whether they've actually thought about something. You, meanwhile, are constantly triangulating. You're checking the faces around you. You're adjusting your tone. You're wondering if you said something wrong, and that anxiety is absolutely transparent. People can feel it. And what they conclude is that you don't actually believe what you're saying, that it's just whatever you thought would play well in the moment. Here's the part nobody tells you about this one. The people you're trying to impress by doing this, do unit actually respect you more? They respect you less, because on some level, they know you're not being real. And real is the only thing that commands actual respect. The fourth reason is that you've never actually stood for anything. Not really. You have opinions that change based on who you're talking to. You have values that flex, depending on the context. You have beliefs that are more like preferences. They're negotiable, they're comfortable. They're designed not to offend anyone, and that makes you invisible. Think about the people in history who were genuinely taken seriously. They stood for something, often something unpopular, often something that cost them, not because they were right. Plenty of them were wrong, but because they were unmovable, and that unmovability is what creates respect. It's what makes people take you seriously, even if they disagree with you. You have never experienced what it feels like to stand for something while people push back. Real pushback, not just social media discourse. Actual consequences. Because if you had, you would know something that most people never learn. It's actually easier to stand firm than it is to keep adjusting. Once you stop trying to please everyone, the anxiety drops. Once you stop performing, you can actually think. Once you have a real position, people know what to do with you. Right now, you're like a person with no coordinates. Nobody can locate you. You're everywhere and nowhere at once. And that's not interesting. That's not respectable. That's forgettable. The fifth reason is that you're always apologizing for taking up space. You say things tentatively. You use qualifiers. I mean, this is just my opinion. But I could be wrong. But I'm probably overthinking this. But you've turned apology into a verbal tick. And what that tells people is that you don't believe you deserve to be heard. So they don't. Listen, here is something that's going to feel wrong when you first hear it. People who are taken seriously often sound arrogant when they first start being direct. They sound cocky. They sound rude. And that's because we've trained you to equate kindness with self. It doesn't. Being nice means being honest. Being direct. Saying what you mean without performing helplessness. The people you take seriously aren't constantly apologizing for existing. They're not softening their statements. They're not shrinking. They're taking up the exact amount of space their message deserves. And when they're done, they're done. No apology. No explanation. No anxiety spiral afterward. You do all three. And everyone around you has learned to tune it out. Because it's not actually communication. It's performance anxiety with words. And nobody takes performance anxiety seriously. The sixth reason, and this is the final one, is that you've never actually paid a price for being taken seriously. Everything in your life has trained you that blending in is safe. That standing out is risky. That being remarkable is something that happens to other people. And if you try it, you'll just embarrass yourself. So you've optimized for safety instead of respect. But here's what nobody tells you. Respect and safety are often at odds. The people who are taken seriously are the people who chose respect and accepted the risk. They said the thing that might be wrong. They took the position that might alienate someone. They stood firm when it would have been easier to fold. And yes, sometimes they lost. They lost friends. They lost opportunities. They embarrassed themselves. That's the cost of being real. That's the cost of being taken seriously. And you've never paid it. So you've never earned it. This is where most people get defensive. They start thinking about how their family expects them to be certain ways, how their job requires them to be professional, how the people in their life wouldn't accept them if they were fully honest. And maybe that's true. Maybe you actually do need to hide parts of yourself to survive in your current environment. But here's the thing. If that's true, then you can't also be taken seriously. Those two things are incompatible. You can't hide and command respect. You can't perform and be real. You can't be everything to everyone and be someone to anyone. So the actual fix isn't about becoming more confident or dressing better or learning communication tricks. The fix is choosing. Actually, choosing, deciding that you'd rather be respected by fewer people than liked by everyone. Deciding that your actual perspective is worth the risk of someone disagreeing with you. Deciding that follow-through matters more than comfort. And then doing the hard thing. Actually living that way. Not just thinking it. Not just saying it in a moment of clarity, but repeatedly, consistently, even when it's uncomfortable, choosing to be someone whose word means something. Because the truth is, being taken seriously isn't about how smart you are, or how accomplished you are, or how many people know your name. It's about whether people have learned to trust that what you say has weight, that when you commit to something, it matters, that you're not constantly adjusting based on their reaction. The world is full of people nobody takes seriously. They're not failures. They're not stupid. They're just people who never decided that their integrity was worth more than their comfort. And so they became background noise. You don't have to be background noise, but you have to choose not to be. And then you have to actually follow through on that choice, even when it costs you something real. That's not a motivational speech. That's just how respect actually works.